All right, are we live? Okay, good. YouTube just took ages then to get the stream going. All right, we are live. Fantastic. Welcome everybody. I can see already the stream is going crazy. So hello Germany, San Diego, Belgium, Edinburgh, Manchester, Dallas. Oh my goodness, it's pretty much everywhere. Nottingham, Finland, Texas, a bit of everything. So welcome everybody. Hopefully this is going to be a fantastic show, your monthly show as always. We'll start with the announcements. So thank you first of all for my Christmas cards. They've been coming in. For those of you, I know some of you have emailed and said, where can we send them? You can send them to my office. The address is below in the description. If any of you want to send me a last minute Christmas card, I will still get them before Christmas, depending on where you are. So thank you. And thank you as well. I'm overwhelmed by the generosity. People have been sending me money from all around the world. Look at this. And I'll tell you what's interesting. Some of this is not even legal tender anymore. Like these haven't been legal tender for a long time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take them to the bank and see if they'll change them. And this is an interesting one. So this is a new £20 note. It's a polymer or something it's called in the UK, £20 note. Someone sent me this from overseas. This is old currency now. So it's not, I think it's still legal tender. You can swap it at the bank, whatever. But look at this. This is from, here we go, Richard Lloyd in the USA, New Hampshire. Look at this. I've not seen one of these in about 15 years. So hopefully they're going to swap this at the bank for me. So thank you so much, Richard. And I've got your card here. I just got it today. So thank you so much for your card. I really appreciate that. And it will go on the mantelpiece with the others. So thank you so much. Good. So with the Patreon, I can see many of you are on already. We're going to start adding, I'm going to start adding a video on Patreon now. You already get loads of stuff. You got the forum, the investment forum, fantastic. You get the posts. So every week I make loads of posts. I tell you what I'm investing in, all the different investments. I tell you warnings. I give you other videos I think you need to watch. I recommend books and all sorts of things. So I'm going to start doing a video, especially as you know, it's not been as good on YouTube as of late with some bans and things like that, or shadow bans. So I'm probably going to just do a video every week and start doing that onto Patreon now. So I'm sure you'll all enjoy that. And as always, the questions today, I've got them here, just printed them all off. These are Patreon questions, tier 3. We got some fantastic questions here. Honestly, I just skimmed it quickly and I thought, oh, I should have looked at some of these beforehand, because some of them are really, really, really tough. So I'm going to do my absolute best today to answer these. But I will say up front, these are really, really hard questions. So other than that, make sure you click the like button. Please click the like button below, because I always forget to ask you to do that. So please click the like button. And apart from that, if everything's okay and you can hear me and see me correctly, then I'm going to get straight into it. Oh, actually, one question for you guys. In the description below, I've lent out some of my books, and a couple of the books I've lent out, I cannot find them anywhere. And one of them is Our Mysterious Panics by Charles Collman. I can't get a copy of this. I can't find one. 1830 to 1930, so it's an old book. And The Tragic Era from 1929. If you have a copy of that book and you have a spare, you've read it, you're not going to read it again, will you please send it to me at my office address? I will be very grateful. I will send you a Christmas card, any of those books. There's a couple of other books as well that I've lent out. I can't remember who I've lent them to. One of you subscribers has got a couple of these books. If you've got a spare copy, please just drop a comment below and send me your copy. I would appreciate that. All right. Well, with that said, I've got my tea. I hope you've all got your tea or your coffee today. We're going to get into it. This one's going to be a bumpy ride, ladies and gentlemen. There's some pretty tough and extreme questions here. All right. Sorry, buddy, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but Whiteze D Belt, WYTZE D Belt. Hi Neil, big fan. Followed you when you had just 7,000 subscribers. Wow, that's a long time ago. Not, that was actually March or April when I started the channel. I think we're up to 250,000 today, so we're doing pretty good. But thank you for following me for so long. Thanks for the great advice so far. I'm in Europe between Netherlands and Estonia. And in both countries, I still don't see liquidity drying up. My friends in Netherlands all just bought houses, huge mortgages, and had no problem securing the loan. Two of my other friends just shopped for €100,000 cars. Dealers wouldn't drop prices, and cars were often gone the next day, and at least within the same week. Goodness me, this is an essay you write me here. It feels like insanity to me. Sorry for the rant. Here's my question. All right. Why is it that we haven't seen liquidity dry up for mortgages, car leases, and other consumer spending? Well, the simple reason is because we're not there yet. There's still loads and loads of liquidity around, loads of money. We're not in a crisis yet. What you'll notice that I'm often talking about the crisis. I'm talking about the crisis that's coming. It's not here yet, but it is coming. And when it does come, it's going to be biblical. It's going to be absolutely huge when this next one comes. Or, well, there's two things that could happen. Number one is that this will be the greatest crisis that we have ever seen, probably even worse than the Great Depression. That is the worst case, and it's definitely a possibility. The other option is that the Fed or the central banks just, and it really is the Fed because they own the reserve currency, they just keep printing into infinity. And when they do that, they can, stave off another big recession or depression as well. They can stave it off by keeping on printing. But even if they do that, all that's going to happen is they're making the bubble burst. 2000, 2008, right? And now look where we are, 2020, 21. They're making it bigger and bigger every time. Already this year, 40% has been printed. Not actually printed, but created. We've had another 40% of money into the US dollar. And this is why people are saying, why are stocks going up? Why are houses going up? Why are all these prices? It's because all the money is going into assets. This is the biggest wealth theft of all time that's going on right now. Because this money, you think this currency is going to the people, stimulus. That's just a small amount. The majority of it is going to the wealthy, to the elitists. That's where all this money is going to. It's going into the stock market. It's going into the housing market. It's going into, all these other funds. This is where the majority of this money is going. Make no mistake about it. So that, I think, covers the question. I think one other thing, lenders aren't not lending yet. So the mortgage lenders, the banks, they are still lending money. They're still making loans, but they are getting more cautious. And I think as we go into 2021, they'll be a lot more cautious. And I've already started to see now, I have a lot of clients who I mentor and things like that in my community who are surveyors and architects and mortgage brokers and all sorts of things like that, agents and brokers, whatever. I'm hearing the same story. A lot of the mortgages are going forward and they're getting either rejected or downgraded. So let's say the house is listed at 300,000. Well, it goes out, valuer goes out. Again, I'm just going to use general words because it's called something different in each country. But the valuer goes out, does his thing or her thing, goes back to the mortgage lender, back to the bank, and says, actually, I don't think it's worth 300. I would say, to be safe, let's say 260, 270. Then the bank might look at it, they'll do their assessment, and you might get a mortgage at say 270, 275, just to give an example. What that means is that people are then going to family members, or they're trying to raise that additional 25K, which is on top of the deposit as well, by the way. So we are seeing this now. And is this affecting the housing market? Not really. It's not really pulling it down yet, but it will eventually with everything else that's coming. All these things combined, it will eventually start to actually pull it down. So I am looking at your comments, guys. I'm sort of glancing them, but I've got a lot of questions here, so I'll get through these first. Next one, Anthony Koopmans, and I know you're online because I just saw you say greetings from Germany. If the Great Reset should come, it apparently foresees the implementation of a always get this word, technocracy, replacing the current market system of supply and demand with one of supply of what is deemed needed. The end of private asset ownership and an era of just renting all that is needed. What would your investment escape strategy be for this planned scenario? Well, firstly, let me just say what that is. Again, I should really look up this word. That's very poor of me. But the technocracy, that's it, technocracy. That means government. It's like government control or a societal control by people who are elitists, but how can I put it? They're more technological elitists. So they have control of technology. If you've ever seen these dystopian type of movies where they're like, you know, that they have these hand things on and they're doing all this technology and organizing police and things like that. That is a little bit what Anthony's referring to here. And we are, excuse me, we are moving towards that a lot more. There's no doubt about it. China is definitely leading the way with that AI and all the facial recognition. If you remember my video that got banned on the Great Reset, that Klaus Schwab, who is the founder of the World Economic Forum, he was talking about that, and he was saying how we're going to be able to track people. We need this to track people. And then there was that other clip of that lady who said, well, we'll be tracking people, facial recognition, and it will go to a third party. And yes, that's all I'll say on it. And you're like, whoa. You're making this worse than it is. You're turning it into a conspiracy theory, because why are they being so suspicious around it? Or why aren't they just saying what it is? And it's the same with the CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. Why aren't they just saying what they're going to do? Why is it all mysterious and being done in mountaintop retreats and stuff like that? That's what I don't like. But what would let me just look at the question again. What would my strategy be? Well, I think, Anthony, you already know, you're in the Patreon, but physical metals, I've gone down very hard in physical metals, silver predominantly, purely because of the gold to silver ratio. I think that's the strongest store of value. Remember, I'm not trying to make a ton of profit. All I'm trying to do during this period is, I might do some shorts and some options and things like that, where I can see that people are being fools and they have no idea what they're doing. And yes, I might do some of that, but predominantly my focus is not to profit. My focus is to save the money I've got right now. So to have that store of value carry me through. That is my focus. The other thing is obviously second passport. Anyone can get a second passport. You do need a little bit of money. I mean, we're talking maybe 100,000 US dollars equivalent. So you can purchase a second passport if you have the funds. If you don't have the funds, then you could always go for residency. You could move to another country. You can get residency. There is loads and loads of fantastic countries you can live in around the world. Unfortunately, what the West does, especially the media, which is 95% controlled by one side, shall we say, 95% controlled, they will try and scare you into saying, oh, don't go to that country. Oh, don't go to this country here. Oh, these guys are really bad, and these people are evil, and you'll get shot in the middle of the street, and all this nonsense. You know, I've traveled over 60 countries now around the world, and each time when I see what's on the media and what's in reality is the complete polar opposite. So don't watch the news for everybody. Just turn it off, especially if it's, and again, I'm not saying left wing, because I know some of you are left, some of you are on the right. It doesn't really matter. I'm more in the middle. But when I say left wing, I'm not talking about, on the left. I'm talking extreme left, like extreme craziness, right? When I'm talking about that. they control a lot of the media now, and there's a lot of agendas being pushed through. So I would just say, do your own research, and don't just listen to everything they say as if it's real, because a lot of the time it's nonsense, absolute nonsense. It's propaganda. And actually, these books here, right, this is all sort of propaganda books, because I wanted to learn about the media, Chomsky and people like that, media control. So I read all these books on all this, and it's pretty obvious what they're doing a lot of the time. So anyway, I'm digressing there. I don't think we're going to have this massive emergency situation that a lot of people are talking about as with this great reset and all these plans moving forward. I don't think it is going to be as bad as people think. If you think about the 1940s, people thought it was the end of the world in Europe. They honestly thought that was it, that this was the end of the world with how fast the Nazis were getting across Europe and what they were doing. People were saying it's the end times, and it almost was. But we had a fantastic prime minister, Winston Churchill, and he was just, I love that guy. He was just absolute resolute, would not back down no matter what. And then once Canada and USA got involved as well, absolutely just dominated Europe and took it back. So you've got to compare and look at history. And again, I always talk about history. Look at history and look what happened then, look what's going on now. It's not really a comparison, I wouldn't say. So yeah, it's always good to have a second passport or second residency so that you have got that bug out option. But that's what I would say. Yeah, okay, good. I think that's the question. We'll go on to the next one. Okay, it's from Maurice M. Regarding bank bail-ins, for deposits less than 250,000 US dollars, we are FDIC insured. If there is a bank bail-in, won't it only apply to amounts over 250,000? And if not, wouldn't FDIC cover the losses? Even if the FDIC is not currently funded, wouldn't the Fed print more money if needed? Good question. Yeah, okay. I think, so let's just address this first of all. Let's get the foundation to it. The FDIC in the USA and other countries, they are not funded, ladies and gentlemen. Look this up, do your research. Again, everything I say to you, I don't want you to just blindly believe it. I want you to go off and do your own research. It is not funded. Just like in the UK, it is not funded. So where are they going to get the money from when, not if, but when this massive banking and financial collapse finally hits? Where's it going to come from? Yes, they could do what they did in 19 March, I think it was, somewhere around that, February. Anyway, it's 1933 when we had the Great Depression. So yes, they could do that, but that was an absolute scandal. It really was a scandal. They basically just stole from the middle class when they did that. I can't remember the exact amount, but they devalued the dollar by, let's say, 40 cents. And all these fools are in the street, yay, yay, celebrating. What are they thinking? They're celebrating all the way to the grocery store when they go to buy their dollar's worth of food and it's $1.40 or whatever it was. And then they're going, what's happened? Oh, I'm going to blame the grocery store. They're trying to rip us off. People just don't understand finance. They think they're often voting for these policies. Again, I'm being politically correct. And they think it's all just going to magic. It's like, it's as if it's magic. And I always love that Elon Musk quote that I put on that clip I gave you guys a couple of times. And he says, here's a message for the fools out there. If you don't make stuff, there is no stuff, right? If you remember that funny clip. And that's exactly what's going on. People think that they don't understand where all this stuff, all the products, all the services are coming from. They think it's magic. They don't realize that these things are manufactured outside of the West, heavily in Asia and other countries. So getting back on point, I know I'm going to keep going off track a lot tonight already. I know I am. I think they could print more currency, but it's only just going to devalue the currency already in existence. It's not as if it just magics out of thin air. That's what happened before. And I don't know if there's a question on gold, but if not, I'll touch on what happened with gold as well when it was confiscated. biggest scam of probably of the American history. We'll talk about it later if there's time. Next question, Mike S. Neil, thanks for your videos. Do you feel that we're going into a depression in 2021? And if so, how bad will it be? What is the worst case scenario? Okay, so I don't think we'll have a depression in 2021. I don't think there's any chance of that. However, 2022, 2023 onwards, right through to 2025, I think right now there's a very high chance, there's a high risk of that. And I'm not saying it's certain, I'm just saying there's a chance. And I think there's a pretty good chance. But a depression doesn't just come within a year. You know, it takes a long time. You've got to have a lot of periods, a lot of quarters of negative growth. And we haven't really got there yet. Although what we've seen, just to put this into context, the drop that we had, like employment, boom, unemployment, and all the other things that just crashed out, that was 10 times worse or 10 times faster than what happened in the Great Depression. And there wasn't as much money around then either. This is the other thing. So we could go into this period where it'll be an absolute disaster. I mean, I don't even want to think how bad it could possibly be, but it could be really, really bad. But, you know, people have a short memory, Mike. That's the thing I would say. They have a very, very short memory. And just to give you a couple of reference points, we'll probably see this happening in terms of deleveraging, because that's the key word here. When you start to see money dry up or problems or credit issues coming in. And if you see the stock market go, you're probably going to see the housing market go. And when these two things go, everything else is going to go. I mean, everything is just going to crumble. You're going to have this huge deleveraging of all this really bad debt, you know, this terrible, terrible debt. It's all just going to come crashing down. And will it come crashing down or will it slowly come down? That's the question I don't know the answer to. But it will come down, and it will come down really, really hard. Yeah, so it could even be 2024 or even, you know, around that period before it happens. But I think next year, I don't agree with the pundits. I don't think we're going to have this nice recovery next year and whatever else. I think it's going to be an absolute storm next year. I think we're going to have some bad times ahead. I really do, especially with some of the policies I'm seeing with politicians and people like that. They're making bad decisions at the moment, really, really bad decisions. And some of the stuff coming up, and again, in different countries, we're moving towards this more of a socialism type approach in certain countries. There's some parts of socialism that work, right? But in the most part, I'm personally not for it. I'm for capitalism. But again, as I've said before, if I had a perfect system, it would probably be 90% capitalism, 10% socialism. And I think that, but the problem isn't capitalism or socialism. The problem is the banks. They are the start and the end of all the problems. They cause all of the problems because they have control of the money. And this is only going to get worse because this new CBDC, they're going to have complete control of all the money. And they're going to tell you how you can spend your money. How, you know, if you vote one way, you don't vote a way they like. Oh, well, you can't, you know, there's all sorts of things they might say. You can't get a car loan, for example. No, you can't spend your money on that. Oh, we're going to tax you this amount because of this. You weren't green enough. There's all these problems that I can foresee come in, and they're very concerning. And actually, Stevie O is the next question, which follows from Mike. My question is whether you believe this will be a domino effect with one country starting to go down and the rest being pulled down over time, or almost a simultaneous implosion. It would be interesting to know how you anticipate how this will play out globally. Oh gosh, Steve, this is a really tough one. Okay. Well, let me just give you a worst case scenario. Look at Japan. Look what happened in 1990. 1980s, they had a big growth. And in 1990, everything just imploded. Stock market fell 90%, not 90%, 90%. The housing market, what did it fall? 60%, I think it was, approximately 60%, the housing market. And this is the same situation. People are saying, no, to the equivalent back then, no, everything's fine. Keep investing into the stock market, keep investing into the housing market. Look what happened, 90%. Imagine you lost 90% of your stock market portfolio. That would be just insane. Imagine your house went down 60%. And I talk about this and I try and give this advice, but there's just too many idiots on the opposite spectrum who are giving polar opposite advice to me. And they're really just washing out my advice because there's too many of them. And that is, imagine you were Japan, right? Imagine America or the UK or Europe, whatever is Japan. And your house is worth, and we'll just use a round figure. We'll use 100,000. Now, obviously, if you're in California or something, that's probably insane what I've just said. But 100,000, that's the price of your house. And you've got, let's say you're in Europe, so you're not in the USA where you can get 20-year fixed rates. Let's say you're in Europe and you can only get a 3-year fixed rate. And then it goes on to an ARM, so an adjustable rate mortgage, which we have a problem here in Europe with all of this, So let's say that's what happens. You buy your house now, you put 5% down. So there's 95% that you don't own. The bank owns that 95%. And it crashes by 60%. There is no way you're going to be able to refinance that house. No way. It's just not possible. The only way to do it is for you to have this big lump sum of money to pay it down so that the LTV, the loan to value, comes lower, right? And this is the problem I'm trying to warn people about, because when this housing market, whenever it starts to come down in different countries, because the West is very connected, this is going to be such a disaster. And I really feel for people, especially people that have been rushing in and buying houses when I've said, this is probably not the best time to buy if you're in certain European countries. If you're in America and you can get a 20, 30-year fixed rate, it doesn't really matter because it's free money. With all this new printing, it's free money. If you get a 3% mortgage, it's really not going to make much difference. As long as you don't intend to move house, it doesn't really matter to you, but other people are going to get absolutely hammered. So what do I think, Stevie-O, could happen? The main thing is there's nothing to replace the US dollar. The euro is 20% of the world currency or something like that. The IMF have tried things. The ECB have tried things. Everyone's trying things. China is in a good position right now because they've got gold. They've got tons and tons of gold. So they're in a good position with their digital yuan that they have gold to back it. If they really wanted to push it, if there was a massive collapse, I don't think the dollar collapse is going to come just yet, but I do think it's going to be devalued. If it did collapse, I couldn't see it happening before 2025, for example. And I've been working on a series for months now on the dollar collapse. It was a lot more work than I thought it would be, which is why it isn't out yet. But I do think that there is a risk with the dollar. And the other issue is a lot of the dollars don't exist in the USA. They exist outside of the USA. Right, so they are in other central banks, and they are these reserve currencies. So they're all around the world. That people, governments or central banks, they can dump the dollar, but I don't think they will, because if they start to dump these dollars, then it's going to make their own currency more expensive in some regards. I'm not going to get too detailed into that, but it's going to cause a lot of problem for them. So it's not as simple as people think. It's not just as simple as the dollar just collapsing. There's a lot more to it. It's very, very intricate, and I probably couldn't even unpack it on this live stream because I'd need to think it through before I explain it in a simple way. Okay, so that is that question. We'll move on to the next one. Oh gosh, Armand's. This is a political one. I'm not gonna read out all of this, but I'll do the first bit. What do you feel makes a country great? Like what Donald Trump has been doing, but he is being stopped. And that's all I'm going to read on it, because this is pretty intense question. So I think what makes a country great is, excuse my throat today, I don't know why it's so raw. I think it's culture. That's what I think makes a country great. It's culture. Let me give you an example. What made the United States the greatest country in the world, in my opinion, back in the day, was that you had pioneers, you had settlers from all around the world, but mainly Europe. And these people had nothing. They were coming from famine and persecution and all sorts of things in other parts of the world. They had nothing to lose. So they had this community spirit, this new world, as it was known, where you could achieve anything you wanted. You could be anything you wanted to be. And everyone was united. Now, when I look at the United States, a lot of people are saying, why haven't you moved to the United States like you were going to? The reason why, I don't want to move to the United States anymore, because I don't see a United States of America anymore. What I see is a divided States of America. I see you're either on the left or you're on the right. And it's not even left or right now. It's extreme left, or it's like extreme right, a lot of it, a lot of the things I'm seeing. And that's concerning. When you've got this extreme level that we're at now, that is what really concerns me. So the culture's gone. And that's what makes a country great. When you are united, you've got this beautiful united country where everyone's working together in harmony. And that's not what we've got anymore. Now, let's use a polar opposite example. Let's look at China. Okay. Now, whether you like or dislike China is irrelevant to this example. So just to get that out there, there is a lot of documentaries you can watch about China and about the factories and how they work. And I remember watching one, I think it's called American Factory. Don't quote me on that, but it's a very good documentary. And it talked about the difference between Americans and Chinese. And again, we can say Americans, we can say UK, we can say Europeans. It's the same thing. I'm not talking about Americans anymore here. And the main thing that the CEO was was saying was that European or Westerners are lazy. You know, they don't want to work. They want everything, but they don't want to work. But the Chinese are hungry for it, and they're willing to work hard. And for me, I can relate more to the Chinese mindset to the Western mindset, because I was in the army for 10 years. You know, I'm used to working every single day, especially on operations, 7 days a week, morning till night, I would work. And I like that ethos. And when I see how they operate, they work 6 days a week, they work long hours, they work hard, and they're very united as a country. You can see it in Asia. The countries are very, very united. And that's why they're getting this fast growth. India, South America, some of these other places, they're getting this fast growth. Some African nations, they're united. They're not divided. And they don't have an entitlement mindset, which is what is existing in the West. Everyone, and I'll give you a perfect example of this as well. I went through a phase where I was recruiting. So I had a lot of employees who were young. So I don't know, Generation Z or whatever you want to say. They're like 19 to 24. All good people, all of them good people, but they were a pain in the backside. Like you wouldn't believe. They didn't want to work. I need to have this break. Oh, I need you to work. I needed them to work on a weekend if we were doing filming stuff, when we were running seminars. Oh, I can't. I don't think this is in my contract to do this on a Saturday. Yes, it is in your contract. It says it in your contract that you need to work when we're an events company. What do you think you do? Oh, well, 9 to 5, and no, I can't stay late. You know, it's not my problem if the project's going a little bit over. Like all this nonsense, absolute, they just didn't want to work. They just didn't have the work ethic. So they didn't stick around. They didn't stay with the business. And this is a few of the things I'm seeing. So what makes a country great is, it's not politicians. Let's just say that. Politicians don't make a country great. It's the people that make the country great. It's you. You sat at home or wherever you're watching this. Only you can make the country great. And I know we're in this crazy times right now where it's as if we've lost control of our own countries. We're the people who are in control. This is what a democracy is. We elect these officials. Yeah, we elect them. And yet they take advantage of us. They send out the police right now to harass us and do all these things. You're out for a walk in the park. Oh, excuse me. Well, why are you out in the park? Sorry, I'm out for a walk. What's it got to do with you? Oh, I'm a police officer. I'm taking a walk. Why is this your business? I'm just taking a walk. Well, why are you out? I don't need to tell you. Look, I'm going for a walk. Thank you very much. Bye. What's your name? What's your address? I'm not telling you. Bye. This sort of stuff. It's madness. What's going on? So one thing you can do, just stop watching the news. Just stop watching the news, because they're putting all this propaganda and all these guidelines, not law, guidelines into society. But anyway, I'm off track here. I'm off track. I'm not running for prime minister or president, so I'll leave it at that. Jorge, Neil, what's the beef between you and? Okay. I don't know if I want to answer this question. No, I said I would. Right. Neil, what's the beef between you and some of these other YouTubers like Meet Kevin? Why do they keep making these, I'm removing your swear words here, Jorge, messed up videos about you? Why don't you do a response video and destroy these wannabes who try but fail badly to discredit your work? Aren't you, swear word removed, annoyed? Look, I'm not really going to get into talking about other YouTubers and, people like, Meet Kevin or whatever. Yeah, okay, he's made 2 very critical videos about me and negative, and, other people have as well. The thing is, I don't really care. I think that's the bottom line. These people are not even on my radar. I don't even see them as, no, I'm not gonna say, but they're not even on my radar. I don't even think about them. If they make a video about me and someone sends it to me and says, you should watch this, you need to, then I'll watch it. But a lot of the time I don't even watch these videos because so many people make them and they don't really mean anything to me. But you've got to look at the biases, some of these, and again, let's not talk about Kevin or whoever, but let's just say in general, a lot of these California type of YouTubers and finance guys, they will say that, oh, Neil's wrong, and no, he's saying, he's wrong on this, he's wrong on that, but they don't give any proper evidence why. I go into massive detail, do tons of research, and I show why something's going to happen. Some of the other people, they don't show why. They just, is their opinion. I don't care about that. I want facts and data. And also, if someone's saying, no, the housing market isn't going to crash, there's no way it's going to crash. By the way, get your coupon below for my real estate course for $100 off. Guys, it's bias. Why would they say anything to discredit or jeopardize their income? They wouldn't. Why would they say, yes, the stock market is going to crash at some point, it's going to come crashing down? No. They'd rather say, get your 2 free stocks below on Webull and Robinhood and whatever. Look, I have a training academy. Many of you know that. I don't promote it. I'm not promoting it heavily. I don't promote all the stocks and things and whatever else I do, because I don't think there's integrity there in promoting all the stocks and Webull and Robinhood, things like that right now. Because other people might not care if you lose all your money, every penny on these gambles, but I do. That's why I think the channel's grown so well, because I do care about you guys and I want to make sure that you're well positioned. That's why I'm not teaching you how to gamble and go in on this stock and that stock and whatever. That's not what this is about. This is about securing your future and your family's future. So that's all I'll say. I haven't really got a response. I'm not going to make response videos or anything like that against these guys. Look, if you guys want to watch them and you enjoy their videos, watch them. I've got nothing against them. Nothing more to say on it. So, all right. I didn't want to answer that question, but there you go. Brandon Mullin, for UK property, what are the best information sources you use to study the market? You know, the UK housing market is very hard to get good data. The data is atrocious, actually. So I'll give you a couple that I use. So one is there's propertydata.co.uk. It's okay. I think it's probably the best that you're going to get. Again, it can have a few improvements, but I would say it is probably the best out there. But again, you have to pay for it. Hometrack.com, that's another one. Rightmove data center, going to the data center on Rightmove. I think that's probably where you're going to get the best data for the UK housing market. And I'm glad to hear you've got my Warren Buffett. Guys, do you remember my Warren Buffett that used to be on the wall in my old house, my last house? Brandon has got that now, so he's going to proudly display it on his wall. Adam Draz, hi Neil, thanks for the great content. What do you think the implications are with Biden picking Janet Yellen as Treasury Secretary? P.S. You should do a collaboration video with George Gammon. Yeah, you know, I like George. I like George Gammon. I think he's a good guy. He makes some very good videos. Yeah, the thing is, Adam, you know, I've reached out. I haven't reached out to George before, but I've reached out to so many YouTubers, you know, people who I really look up to. I think they're fantastic. I say to them, if you ever want to do an interview or you want to do anything together, then let me know. As long as, you know, I don't mean if someone with 1,000 subscribers. I mean someone that's got like similar subscribers, 100,000 subscribers, or even 50,000. You know, I'd be more than willing to do that because I have very little time, you see. So, yeah, I definitely do something with George Gammon. I've reached out to so many people, but here's the problem. A lot of the YouTubers never respond. I've been very polite. I'll send them nice complimentary emails. They just do not respond. I'll even comment, hey, do you get my email? You interested? They ignore it. So I don't know why that is. I have my theories, but yeah, most of the top finance people, I've reached out to them. They just don't want to connect. Who knows why? Who knows why? But anyway, Janet Yellen as Treasury Secretary. I think that is a terrible decision. She is just the spawn of the Federal Reserve. She is not a, how can I put it? She's not a business type of finance person. She has no experience from that world. What she is a diplomat or an academic, I think, is the best word to describe her. And the problem with that is she will just do MMT to the moon. Oh, we need more money, Janet. Oh, yeah, I know. Print, put more numbers in. Oh, but you're going to devalue everyone's money. That all these people that have saved their whole lives, that's just going to steal their money. Yeah, well, it doesn't affect me. I'm rich type thing. And that's probably a bit rude. It's probably an overgeneralization, but from my experience, that's what a lot of these type of people do. And I've never really been a big fan of Janet after I saw an interview. Actually, it wasn't an interview, it was a video of a trial. And this trial, it was a senator asking some questions about the Federal Reserve when she was in the Federal Reserve. She wouldn't answer any of the questions. He said, well, can we audit the Federal Reserve? Can we find out, what you guys are doing in there? Because he was saying this is a private institution. It's not federal and there are no reserves. This is a private institution backed, who are the shareholders? Who owns it? Can we find out? And she was like, no, we don't want outside interference. This has nothing to do with the government. This is, and that worries me because you have whoever in control, probably a very small, and I've got a good idea who they are, very small proportion of people who are in control of 80% of the money in the world. What? This is a sort of thing that worries me, really, really worries me. And she is just the front runner for that. So that's what concerns me, to be honest. And if it ever comes to devaluing the dollar, she will do it in an instant. That's just my personal opinion. So there you go. Next question, Richard B. In the likely event of the implementation of a central bank digital currency, what would the impact be on precious metals? Well, to answer that, Richard, we would need to know what the CBDC is going to look like. We have no idea. We have no idea how they're going to control it, how they're going to, issue it and monitor it and do all these things. We have absolutely no idea. So without knowing that, it's a bit like I always use the example of building a house. You can't build a house until you've got a solid foundation. And until we know what the CBDC is going to look like, we don't have a foundation. It would just be like the fool building his house on the sand. You want to build the wise man builds his house on the rock, and that's what we need to do. So, stocks, shares, bonds, metals, how will they be affected? We don't know. And that is the honest answer. I don't know. I don't think there's many people on the planet that know how it will be affected, unless you're the one creating an issue in the CBDC. But even then, you will get all your profits out first if you were the issuer. And again, all this money, all this creation, it goes to this elite first, this top 0.0000001%. It's probably more zeros than that. That's where it all goes first. So I don't know what the impact will have on precious metals. I really don't know. Kathleen Pola, to what extent might gold be confiscated in various countries, including Canada? Thanks. Yeah, good question. I think it's quite high risk in the West. And that's because the last time we had a Great Depression, or even let's just call it a depression, was the 1930s in the USA, which was actually two recessions, but it became one big depression. And you don't need to be a genius to look back and see how that actually happened. Bad policies, devaluing the dollar, stealing people's money and everything else. So what happened then? And that was March. I remember it was March of 1933. An executive order came out from the president, and he said basically, everyone needs to give in their currency. Everyone needs to give in their, sorry, I just saw like someone flashed us a super chat at me there. Adam, all right, let me see if I can get to that in a bit. See how distracted I get? I need to turn this chat thing off somehow with these bright colors and flashing and stuff like that. Let me go back to the question. Okay, March 1933. So there was an order issued from the president. Everyone has to give in their gold. If you don't, you will be punished. You will be ridiculed. You will be da-da-da-da. It's a criminal offense. How? This is your private property. It's a criminal offense if you don't give it to the government. Bonkers, absolutely bonkers. So people gave it in, and I think they got $20, and it was either 62 cents or 42 cents. That's how much they got per ounce. And then once everyone had given it in, the people who didn't give it in, there was no repercussions at all for them. None at all. So it was just a big bluff. And then guess what happens? Oh, they revalue gold to $30 an ounce. So they stole that 50%. The government stole the money from the people. Guess what they did then? They devalued the dollar. It was a double steal, absolute disgraceful. And that's what happened. So what do I think then? I think it's high risk. I do think it's high risk, especially if they run out of money. They're going to go back to gold. They always have done. They'll go back to gold again. Excuse me. Excuse me. That is what they'll do again. Now, will it happen with silver? I don't think so. The reason silver's been confiscated in the past is because they used it for coinage. They don't want silver as coinage now. They don't. And silver's being mined quite heavily now, and it's being used a lot more. Look at renewables and all technology and electronics. They're using a lot more silver. That's why I like silver. People say, I have people that say to me, last week when silver, dropped last week, it only dropped for a week. People are sending me messages. Oh, Neil, if I'd have listened to you, I'd have just lost 10% of my money. No, listen to what I say. This is the problem when people don't watch full videos I put out. I say buy and hold. I don't say buy and trade. You see, it's very different. Hold and trade are different words. Buy your silver, hold it for the long run, because over time it will go up. It will go up dramatically over time. I don't see silver as a confiscation risk. And actually, for those of you in my Patreon, I'm going to repeat what I've been posting about this week. But I have a lot of metal in London Vault. I have a lot of money in a lot of silver in the Zurich Vault. I was trying to think which other vault it was there. So I've got very substantial amounts that are in both of these vaults. But what I'm now doing is I'm buying my metal in Singapore, in the Singapore Vault. That's silver. It is more expensive and it's harder to get the metal. I had about 3 or 4 bid orders, and they were just sat there because there just wasn't the metal that I was trying to allocate. They just didn't have that quantity in the vault in Singapore. So it was quite hard to get the metal there. Whereas people in London, I can just buy any quantity like that, because people are starting to pull their metal out of London vaults, some of the elite, and I have to be discreet in what I say, but there's certain people that are pulling their metals out and they're moving it overseas. For me, Singapore is very safe. It's a very, very safe country. It actually has the best banks in the world. You compare that to other banks, especially in the West, and they're extremely risky. Yeah, Western banks are the worst. They are the riskiest banks going. So yes, gold confiscation is a possibility. I hope it doesn't happen, but I don't hold a lot of gold. Mine's silver anyway, and they're all vaulted, so they're overseas. I can't see my government or your government saying to Singapore or someone like that, you have to give that metal back to us. It's not going to happen. Right? Singapore's got what, 2 million people that are military trained. Then they're not just going to give the money back. Sorry. So put your wealth somewhere where it's quite secure. I think that's the message here. Okay, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Masa Odaka. Hi Neil, I have an endowment plan with OCBC, which is actually a Singapore bank or financial institution. I'm not quite sure, but I know it's Singapore. I kind of regret getting it because previously I was able to pay just 1,000 SGD a month, but they now changed the policy, so I have to pay lump sum 12K a year if I don't want 1% interest on my credit card. I don't understand that bit, but okay. What is your stance on endowment plans by banks? I guess banks are becoming less profitable. So will you try to get rid of what I have and cut my losses at 25K, or keep paying till I hit break even, which is in 10 years? Yeah, to be honest, I think this breaks my rule, which is no personal questions, because I don't want to give out financial advice here. This is more like a generic thing for people. So I can't really give specific financial advice for you. And I would struggle anyway, because I'd need to know your situation. Is your endowment term? Is it restricted, unrestricted? Is it like quasi? I have no idea. What is your goals for it? But one thing I would say, check the small print, because how can they just change your policy from paying 1,000 a month to 12K a year? That doesn't really make any sense to me. I don't know what you mean about the 1% interest on your credit card, but look at the allocation as well. Look at the allocation, how they're allocating it. If I had an endowment, I'd probably want 50% in bonds right now, and then the other 50%, some of it in emerging markets for my uplift. I'd want a little bit of mining stocks. I'd want some equities. I'd want something that's fairly safe right now. So that's what I'd say. Go and look at how they're investing it. If they say to you, oh, we've got 5% in bonds, I'd run. I'd probably run away. But just remember though, Singapore has the safest banks in the world. They really do. Yeah, that's all I'll say. Singapore, very, very safe banks. Okay, we're on the last page of questions here. Russell Saunders. Russell, you're usually first one to ask a question. You're last today, second to last. And I sent you a Christmas gift, by the way. I hope you got that. If you're wondering, oh, who's this from? It's from me. Hi, Neil. Thanks for answering our questions. What personality mental traits did you learn while in the army that you've put in good stead as an investor and entrepreneur, and any negative ones? In general, what traits and behaviors are good to learn and cultivate on this journey? I personally think that for me, the army was the best decision I could have ever made to join, because I didn't really have any qualifications. You know, I entered the army 17 years old. My parents had to sign off for me to actually join. And they tried, everyone tried to dissuade me, including the recruitment sergeant. He was like, look, you are 5'2". At the time, I was 5'2", a little bit taller now, but not much. I was skin and bone. There was just nothing on me. And he was like, you are never going to make it. You are, there's just no way. There's no, you should wait a couple of years, put some meat on you, because you're not going to make it. The training alone is going to take, you know, a stone off your body weight or whatever he said. But, you know, I didn't really have an option. What was my option? The area I grew up in, I was getting too badly involved in the wrong crowd. You know, I would have ended up running in the gang full time and things like that. I didn't want to get into that life. So for me, the army was the best option. And I think if you think of it like pleasure and pain, if you ever heard of that ratio, it was more painful for me to stay back where I grew up than it was to move into the army when I was 17 and they were all like in their 20s or whatever, and big guys. It just made me work harder. And I remember actually, this was a crazy, crazy event that happened. I was almost like near the end of basic training, and the doctor called me in, and there was MPs. So these are like military police type guys, whatever you call them. And the doctor said, oh, we've got this report that says you had asthma as a child. And I was like, oh yeah, I did have asthma. And the doctor said, well, we're going to have to discharge you. Imagine that. Imagine how I felt right then. And I remember I did the stupidest thing, but I'm glad I did it. I didn't really speak whilst I was there. But then when I got back to the barracks, I was in my my shorts, and you know, you had these green t-shirts anyway. And there was you do this fitness test. So you run a mile and a half, you do your press ups, your sit ups and stuff like that. Anyway, I went back to the barracks, and I was meant to be packing up my stuff. I ran down the fire escape, jumped off, and I ran to the fitness thing and I did it, and I came in first place. So I ran it in 8 minutes and 5 seconds or something like that, which was like a minute off my best time, right? And that taught me something. I did it, and I went back and I spoke to my commanding officer, and I was like, can you help me? They want to discharge me. So anyway, he went in, there was a big argument. He was like, he's just come first out of the full platoon of men. He's just whooped every single one of them, right? He hasn't got asthma. He's fit. He's this, he's that. So true story, crazy story. That's one thing. But what is that? That is persistence. It's having that grit. And I think that's carried me through today. I still stand by these things. I still teach these things. Persistence, discipline. You've got to have discipline. You've got to have commitment. You follow it through no matter what. And that was a lot in the army. I remember when I first went for my interview to be attached to special forces, and that was crazy because this guy was such an idiot to me. Let's just say that, pointing in my face. What are you even doing here? You haven't got the balls and all this. What are you doing? You're wasting my time and all this. And he made me so annoyed because he reminded me of the people who used to bully me when I was a little kid. I just ripped into this guy and said, I wouldn't come and work for you anyway. I wouldn't attach to your unit anyway. And I walked out, and then he called me back in and said, hey, you got the job. And that was it, right? So it is sometimes just about having that discipline, having that commitment, and being like, do you know what? I'm going for it no matter what. So anyway, I'm going off track possibly there. Patience though, patience and timing, delayed gratification. People don't have these things anymore. They don't have this delayed gratification. They want everything now. I want it now, now, now. I'm desperate for it now, now, now. You know, you've got to be willing to sacrifice right now for a better future. That is one of the best bits of advice I can give you. But timing, patience. I speak to people and I say, why are you 100% in cryptocurrency? Why have you got all these different cryptos? Now, why don't you have some of this? Why don't you do a little bit of that? And people say, oh, look, I'm 18 or I'm 19 or whatever. I'm in my 20s. I want to get a Lambo by the time I'm 26 or 27. And, you know, all these sort of things come out. And again, it's because of this media culture, this advertising culture of you've got to have this, you've got to have that, you've got to have it all now. And I just don't stand by that at all. I don't agree with that culture at all. So last question then. Okay. Andrea Rios. Hi, Neil. I've lived in different countries and have to say I've been able to feel free, prosper, and thrive only in the US. It's so painful to see it disintegrate. I wish it wasn't so. In any case, in the future, what assets do you see yourself picking up on the cheap with the coming downturn? Or is your move just defensive because you think it's going to get so bad? So my moves, my financial moves, as it were, why I'm pretty much all in silver right now, some cash, but heavily silver. I will be looking to get some emerging market and some junior miners, a couple of things like that very soon. I don't want to risk it right now because of all the ratios and, you know, the video I've made on the stock market, check those out. So I don't want to risk those high uplift stocks right now. But I think mainly what I'll do when I do finally see this turnaround, I'll go for some long-term stocks, like some long weather stocks that have been around for a long, long time, companies that have been around for a long, long time, but they just became overvalued by people buying their, you know, bidding up their stocks. Those, I'll get some of those. I'll definitely get emerging markets. 100% I'll get emerging markets. I'll buy a couple of beach houses, small beach houses. I won't be getting mortgages or any debt for any of this. I'll be buying cash, right? And the reason I like beach houses is because you can always move around. So I like to move around. I don't like to just stay in one country. I can live in this, you know, beach house in this place. I might have a city house here. I might have a beach house there. And you can rent them out on Airbnb and things like that when you're not staying there. So I'll probably do that, get a couple of houses, do that. But I think that's it, to be honest. That's probably what my strategy will be going forward. I think emerging markets, some junior miners, things like that. Some more high risk stocks once they've really crashed down, and some long-term stocks as well, some good solid stocks. That's it. Very simple strategy, to be honest. But if any of you are worried about your portfolios right now, get some bonds. Look, I wouldn't get bonds right now. They're not great, but they will secure your money. If you look at what happened in 1933, the Great Depression, who were the people that did well and survived it? It was the people that got government bonds, because how often does the government go bankrupt? You know, they're not going to pay you a lot of interest, but at least your money will be secure. All right, good. Well, that is the questions. I saw there was a super chat came in. Yeah, India specifically. Okay, Indian equity markets crisis on. Do you know what? Okay, what do I think about the emerging market, Asian markets crisis there? The thing is, you're going to have problems in most markets. If the dollar really gets a hammer in, you're going to have problems everywhere. No one's going to be immune from this. You've just got to hope that the emerging market stocks that you pick that you purchase do you good. That's really it. Alex, disagree with bonds. Okay, great. Good. Here's the thing. If you're going to put something in the chat and say, I disagree, give your reason why. Don't just say, I disagree. Explain. This is what we were saying about earlier. Let's see what other questions we've got. What do I think of, this from Stephen, non-profit businesses? Non-profits. Well, I mean, I don't like, well, non-profit business and non-profit organizations are different. I've never heard of a non-profit business before because there wouldn't be any point running it. But a non-profit organization, I think they're good when they're well run. But, like a lot of things, you get certain people where they'll pay these millions of salaries for a charity a lot of times. And you look at, this happens a lot. You look at some of the annual accounts and you're like, whoa, 70% of the money came in went on salaries, or 80%. Oh, another 10% went to admin, another 5% went to this. Oh, so only 4% went to the actual people we're trying to help. They're the sort of non-profits I don't like. I don't like that at all. So I prefer, and I give a lot of money to non-profits. I prefer it where the overheads are very low and the money goes directly to making an impact and helping people. All right, see what questions we've got in. All right, Fion's got a cheap beach condo for sale in Brazil if anyone wants that. Neil, would you sell your silver if it goes to $50 in a year or two? Yeah, definitely, Mike. I would sell. You see, the way I invest and buy and sell, this is the mistake that people make. They buy it and then they hold it, and because there's always a peak and then it always drops into a trough. And people are waiting for the peak. You're too late, guys. All the people, and it's the same every time. 90% of people, they wait for the peak. If you wait for the peak, you're too late. What I do is I sell on the uplift. So a lot of the silver I bought was dirt cheap. I mean, they were giving it away when I bought it. So what I do now is I sell little bits of it, the physical, because I have different types of silver. Physical silver, vaulted silver, allocated silver. The allocated silver is there for the long run. I'm hoping one day in the future, someone's going to say, Neil, we don't want to mess around with all these people with their silver and wherever all over. You've got a good amount there. We just want to buy yours for industry or whatever. That would be a real ideal solution for me. I'm holding it for long term. No gold, Joey. No gold for me. I've got a little bit, probably talking 2% gold, but no, for me, it's silver. Yep, John's saying hold on to cash. Yeah, I agree. You've got to have some cash up until the point where they start to devalue it. That's where the problem comes in. House crash month changed in your opinion? This is from VJ. Well, I've only really given one forecast on an actual date for a housing market crash. And that was for not mainland USA, but pockets in the USA. And I said that would start this month and January. What I didn't account for, right? And this is the thing. This is the thing with forecasting. People don't look at what comes after your forecast. They just listen to your forecast. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's say today's Monday, and on Saturday, we're planning a picnic because it's a beautiful day. And I say, we're going to have a picnic on Saturday, but it's Monday today. It gets to Thursday, Friday, and then there's a forecast for hail and rain and a storm on Saturday. And people say, oh, but you said it was going to be sunny on Saturday. And people get upset. And it's the same thing with some of the housing market things. So what I forecast is based on the information I have at the time. But what's happened is they've now extended the mortgage forbearance another 6 months. in other countries that they're doing similar things. In the UK, they're extending 80% of people's wages for another few months. All these things are just kicking the can down the road. All this money has to be paid back as well. So what do I think? It's hard to give a date on it now. It really is. But we are seeing, and the other thing that I didn't account for was the mass migration. I knew we'd see migration patterns, but I didn't think it would be this severe. This is unprecedented. I don't think we've ever seen migration like this in my lifetime, your lifetime, certainly. And it's still going on because people, with the election, everything else going on, people don't know what to do. They're panicking. And when you're emotional and stressed, you make bad decisions sometimes. So again, patience. Well, I've already covered some of these questions, guys. I think some of you might have jumped on late. Taxes, yeah, taxes are going up. You better believe taxes are going to be going up big time. People are asking about Bitcoin. I'm going to come out with a video shortly about cryptos, my opinion on them all. But if you want a quick summary now, I am not anti-crypto. A lot of people think I am. I'm not. I just don't invest into crypto because I don't see something like Bitcoin as an investment. Okay, see, listen to the language I'm using. I don't see it as an investment. I see it as a good hedge. I see it as a store of value to some extent. But I don't see it as an investment. You got a lot of people buying it so they can get rich quick. And in my opinion and experience, that really doesn't generally tend to work out well for people. I've been involved in dozens of these get rich quick schemes. I've lost my money every time. I don't think Bitcoin is a get rich quick scheme. I think it's a fantastic utility. I don't think there's anything that can even compare to it. XRP, again, fantastic utility. Are they investment vehicles though? That is what I would say. I'm not sure. Probably not for me because of the risks associated with it. Look what happened with Facebook's Libra, right? Government didn't want it. So, you know, that's my opinion on it without going into too much detail. Yeah, prices are going up. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. There's not enough questions coming in. How long can they kick the can? They could do it for a while, yeah. They could. There's plenty of room. 80% of the money is in dollars. They could just keep kicking this can, or sorry, that might be a transaction. 70% is dollars. They can just keep kicking this can down the road. They can just keep doing it for as long as they want. They can just keep over and over again. But eventually they won't be able to, because if they do it too much, they're going to be stealing the money from other central banks that hold the reserves. Imagine you're China and you've got $1 trillion and the government decides we're going to devalue our currency by 20%, or we're going to print 40% more currency. You've just stolen from China. They're not going to take kindly to that. If you guys ask me politely, then I will. But when you make demands, the answer is no. Okay, kick it till it turns. Yeah. Okay, Dennis is asking, which countries are great to live in? For me, there isn't just one country that's great to live in. There are many countries, but I wouldn't ever just settle in, say, one country full time. Singapore vaults. Yeah, let me just answer this as well. Any recommendations on Singapore vaults? See, I use Bullion Vault. That's who I use just because it's a UK company. I've checked their accounts. I think they're reliable. Yeah, okay. But in terms of countries that I like European countries. I love European countries. I like the UK. I like living here for the spring and summer. I like living in California for, you know, the winters over here for 3 or 4 months. I won't be going back anytime soon. I can tell you that. And then Asia is the other place I live. So typically, if we're talking about what my wife and I do, we'll have 6 months in the UK, and that's spring and summer. We'll then when we go into sort of fall, we'll go to California typically, and we'll be there for 3-4 months. And then we tend to go to Southeast Asia, sometimes Middle East, but not very often. Southeast Asia, our favorite countries are Thailand, Malaysia, again, places, you know, Taiwan, you know, Cambodia, some of these sort of countries. We really like these countries. Vietnam, Thailand, we love these countries. Just beautiful people, beautiful food, nice warmth as well, which is always good. Okay, good. I think I've probably covered most of the questions there. Right, so that is a wrap, I think, for today. Thank you so much for being online, and I will see you all. Please click the like button if you haven't already, and I will see you all next month for the next one coming up. All right, good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for that one. All right, take care, guys. God bless.